Watching the Bahamas tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, police on Grand Bahama investigating the sudden death of a toddler. Reports say the child died yesterday afternoon after he was rushed to hospital. Sabrina Brown reports.
The sudden death of a 2-year-old male child sent shockwaves throughout Grand Bahama, and family members are still trying to come to terms with the loss. Assistant Commissioner of Police Emerick Seymour said they received a call sometime after 4 p.m. Monday that a child was unresponsive at a home on Magellan Crescent in Freeport. Officers and EMS personnel responded and transported the toddler to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where he was later pronounced dead. A large crowd gathered outside the hospital as word of the unfortunate incident spread. While ACP Seymour could not confirm any of the allegations circulating about how the boy died, he said the father is assisting them with the investigation.
He was at home with his father at the time, and so the father at the moment is assisting us in the investigation. And so as soon as the autopsy, we get the actual autopsy report, we'll be able to make a further determination as to where we go with the investigation.
ZNS News asked ACP Seymour if foul play is suspected in this incident, but he said an autopsy will have to be performed before the death can be classified. However, Grand Bahama's commanding chief did note that the child's death does not appear to be normal.
There were some abrasions about the body that we don't consider normal, and so we have to determine how those abrasions came about, etc., etc.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Well, as the probe continues into the sudden death of the 2-year-old child on Grand Bahama, there is reaction coming in from a senior member of the legal profession. Joan Davis-Roll has this story.
As news of the death of a toddler spread like wildfire throughout Grand Bahama, a veteran barrister at law is weighing in on this most troubling incident. Attorney Constance McDonald says more must and should be done to safeguard and protect our children.
What I continuously saying is you cannot force parenting on anybody. In order to be a parent, you need to have the bond with that child. A parent who is bonded with his child could never kill that child. Now, what happens is, and I sometimes have clients and they say, but that's the father and I'm leaving the child with the father. I say, but he never bonded with that father. And if you never bonded with the father, don't just leave your child with that father. Don't let no court tell you to leave the child with the father either like that. Because it is important that the person that you're leaving your child with has bonded with your child so that there could be no issues between them, and that they love the child. If you watch their interaction.
McDonald, who on Tuesday addressed local social workers at a forum, noted that too many homes have become battlefields and our children are in crisis. She's appealing to parents in particular and society on the whole to wake up.
Anything that you do in anger is excessive. I mean, even if you're going to reprimand someone, it should be in a loving fashion so that I love you, but I need you to understand and to behave in a certain way. And I'm training you. You see, it has to be training, lovingly training a person. And people know when you care about them or not. And so they know how to, they know when you really care and when you don't.
The local attorney stated that while there are laws on the books to protect the rights of children, there are two things that lawmakers cannot legislate: love and morality.
A man who doesn't support his children, as far as I'm concerned, he ain't care for them. Because if you really love and care for your children, you will support them financially, emotionally, physically, everything.
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, also in news tonight, a student of the 8 Mile Walk High School is hospitalized in guarded condition. The young boy was on his way to school when he was reportedly struck by a car in the Jonestown community. Police are continuing their investigations into this incident and are appealing to motorists to exercise extreme caution, especially when traveling in school zones. In other news, Grand Bahama's Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Emerick Seymour is also continuing the appeal for a wanted suspect. 35-year-old Garen Lucan Gibson, a.k.a. Dog, is wanted for questioning in connection with serious criminal matters.
He has been the subject of our an intense investigation that we're conducting. We want to question him in connection with these home invasions we've had. And we feel that he can assist us tremendously in our investigation in this matter. And so we want to ask any member of the public who know the whereabouts of this Garen Gibson to please bring the information forward, come to the police.
Well, Gibson, whose last known address is Patelco Corner in Jonestown, 8 Mile Rock, he stands at 6 feet 1 inch tall with brown eyes, brown complexion. He weighs 150 to 180 pounds and has a small scar under his right eye. Gibson has eluded police for almost a year, and ACP Seymour believes he is still on this island. He is sending a warning to persons who may be assisting the suspect.
We are certain that he is being harbored by person or persons out there in the community, and we want to say to them that it's an offense to be harboring a known felon and a known criminal. And so we want to send a stern warning out to those persons. If they are in fact harboring Garen Gibson, we want to tell them that once they are caught, the full brunt of the law will be brought to bear on them.
Well, if you know the whereabouts of Garen Lucan Gibson, you are asked to contact the police. With an unemployment rate of about 18%, jobs are said to be hard to find here on Grand Bahama. Despite the Urban Renewal team is leading the way and preparing unemployed persons for job opportunities to come on stream in the job market. Megan Shepard reports.
Officers of the Urban Renewal 2.0 program hosted a job fair to assist the young and unemployed in the community in their quest to gaining employment. Coordinator on Grand Bahama, Inspector Henry Roll, says he was very pleased to see persons lining up to attend even before doors were opened.
We have invited a number of the corporate and the business sector to come out and be a part of this event in order to give the young people and unemployed persons a chance of the job market. Today is evident that we need the assistance of the corporate citizens. As you're aware, the Bahamas government can't do it alone. So we have invited them to come out here and render some sort of assistance to these young people.
Inspector Rose says a surprising amount of persons also signed up for the Royal Bahamas Defense and Police Forces. A number of corporate entities were also in hand to answer questions, offer information, and assist in filling out job applications.
The services that we rendered today, we were able to issue out some brochures assisting persons with their resumes. I call them the job starters, and there are some persons that needed to update their resumes so that they can land this job that they're looking for. And we also gave them a listings of some jobs that we were finding hard to find persons to fill.
We have the apprenticeship program which trains them to become welders, mechanical fitters, pipe fitters, electricians, and all of that. Our applications actually come out this summer on July the 1st, and young Bahamians, instead of sitting home, come out and apply.
We're not offering jobs, we're offering an opportunity to start a business of your own. And persons are looking for something to do right away. And so I think we're the star today because we were able to give them information that they could go right out and get started today.
Anissa Sweeting calls the job fair very positive and informative. For her, it proved very successful.
It is something that I wanted to look forward to, but here it is. I'm at Avon. I'm looking at the leadership aspect of it. I didn't know that the Avon company itself had a leadership perspective of it, but it's definitely positive for me. It's something to do.
Inspector Henry Roll says another job fair is in the works for September. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Thank you, Megan. Now on to news from the Health Beat. Health officials at the Public Hospitals Authority have embarked on a mission to upgrade clinics throughout the island as they work to improve the delivery of health care. Renovations to clinics in East Grand Bahama started some 3 weeks ago to the tune of over $160,000. Medical facilities in Hawksville and West End are also expected to be upgraded soon. Managing Director at the PHA, Herbert Brown, is encouraging residents to utilize the public clinics in their communities, as this would ease the burden of overcrowding and long delays in the accident and emergency department at the Rand Memorial Hospital.
Too many people are going to the accident and emergency for care that could be provided at the community clinics. And so what we want to be able to do is to move people from the hospital and allow them to be cared for in facilities that will have the resources necessary to care for them. And really, you talk about A&E, we really want to be able to use accident and emergency department for the purpose in which it was constructed. So that's why you see the focus today is on improving our community clinics.
Now, there are also plans to construct a state-of-the-art hospital on Grand Bahama. The new medical facility will include a private wing. Minister for Grand Bahama, Dr. Michael Darville, says they're working to meet the demands for quality health care in the 21st century.
Our research here on Grand Bahama clearly indicate that there are residents in Grand Bahama who want to use the services but do not have the private capability. As a direct result of that, potential business that can stay on the island of Grand Bahama goes off the island. And all of our specialists and subspecialists on Grand Bahama would like to see the day when there is a private facility or private bed space at our public hospital where their patients could come in and utilize these services.
Well, enhancing one's appearance is no longer a dream. The field of plastic surgery has increased at an exponential rate, and Bahamians no longer have to go abroad for this medical treatment. Whether nip or tuck, the medical procedure can be performed right here at home. Our Shakara Trott has the story.
More and more Bahamians are choosing to go under the knife. Plastic surgery has become the world's answer to fixing flaws, and plastic surgeons are now considered agents of change. The Sunrise Medical Surgery Center recently welcomed its newest surgeon. Certified hand surgeon and plastic surgeon Dennis Nix is preparing to mold, shape, reconstruct, and repair. For him, it's rekindling a passion.
After a couple of years of retirement, I decided I didn't want to retire anymore and thought I'd come down and be a plastic surgeon here at Sunrise Medical Center. I have a house on Eleuthera, so I've sort of bonded with the islands and the people, and I really like it down here, and I love the people, and so I thought I'd offer them my services as they seem to have an underserved area here at this time.
Nick says he plans to conduct the first of many surgeries in May.
One of the first things I've seen is a child that had syndactyly, which is fused fingers, and he had it operated on previously, but it failed, and so the fingers are refused, so we're going to reoperate on that.
The plastic surgeon adds that there are many surgical procedures that can be performed and says plastic surgery transcends cosmetic surgery.
We do breast reconstruction after mastectomy for cancer, reconstruction after burns. Down here in the Bahamas with a predominantly black skin population, you have a lot of keloids that you can deal with. And then there always is people that like to have their tummies tucked or their breasts lifted or these kind of things. So plastic surgery is the surgery of the skin and its contents. So we do a lot more than just breast lifts and facelifts, do a lot of reconstructive stuff. Skin cancer isn't a big problem here in the Bahamas as it is in the state, but you will have, traumatic injuries, cuts, this type of thing.
He says with the dangers of working in the industrial sector and incurring traumatic injuries, with a local surgeon now in place, the cost to travel abroad for surgery has been eliminated.
People travel off the island for surgical procedures if in fact they have the same type of capacity here that will save them money and that they don't have to have airfare, overnight stay.
Shakara Trott, ZNS Network News.
Tonight, a single mother is bearing all and making an impassioned appeal for help. It is a story of clearly defined rules that she readily accepted, but says she's facing difficult times, and instead of hardline compliance, she is calling on the authorities to exercise some compassion. No kids allowed. That's the rule of Palm Club condominiums. But when Rena Duncombe purchased her cozy apartment, she wasn't a mother. Since having her son 4 years ago, she says there has been joint custody with his father until a tragic accident occurred just a few months ago.
My son, he spends most time with me right now. His father was the one, Anthony Baston, a.k.a. Biscuit. He was involved in a car accident back in February earlier this year. So ever since that time, I have taken on the responsibility as being, the full-time parent.
Duncombe says she has been trying to sell the unit for years, but has had no success. Now the association is attaching a $500 fine to her maintenance fee every month because her son lives with her, an added bill this single mother says she cannot afford.
There is a $500 penalty, and that $500 will be applied at the beginning of each month. In distress, I called him twice on the telephone, but that call was to no avail. He was not sympathetic towards what I was going through as a parent at all. So there was nothing, he said there was nothing that he can do, even though he's the president on the board.
Duncombe explains that from her car, her son walks through a corridor and to the apartment. She says she's willing to sign a liability waiver for her son, noting that she takes full responsibility for him to be on the property. She's making this appeal for greater sensitivity and compassion in the situation.
I want them as an owner to have a heart, as me being a single parent, a mother who's trying to provide for her child and to give her child the best possible. I'm just asking them right now. I'm still in the process of trying to find a sale for the unit, but in the absence of a sale, I'm just asking for a further grace period to be granted to myself and my son at this time.
While she says she understands rules are rules, the single mother says she is crying out for help until she can relocate or sell the condo. Now, ZNS News spoke with president of the board at Palm Club Condominiums, who says the complex was built in 1968 as a no-child complex. He says the rules were set from the inception, and the AGM of the property is the only person empowered to change that decision and not the board. He adds that everyone who comes in as a tenant or owner is given a copy of the rules, which states emphatically that no children are allowed. The president says back in January, the AGM voted that a month's notice would be given to every tenant with a child, and if they refuse to move, then there would be a $500 a month penalty until they relocate.